Helen desperately explained everything, her voice heartfelt as she tried getting her words right. The fact Mr. and Mrs. Wilbert listened in silence caused her a feeling of calmness. Wilbert will definitely pay for what he did now. There was no way he was getting away from it. Mr. Wilbert cleared his throat at the end of her story and pointed towards his entrance. "Why don't you come in, Helen? Let us discuss this better inside our house." "Thank you, Mr. Laura," she appreciated. "It's fine. You are all kids. I understand how disgraceful my son can be sometimes. He doesn't do anything right." Meanwhile, Eunice spied at them through her window, her teeth chattering in tension. "Oh God, don't come in, please," she pleaded with tears clouding her eyes. She knew her parents too well to understand this wasn't a mere discussion. Why the hell did Helen come? She hurried to get her phone and dialed Wilbert. The guy wasn't picking up the call. "Wilbert, please pick up. There is trouble." Where the hell was Wilbert anyway? He disappeared after the party and no one had seen him. What the freak happened that night and why wasn't he coming back home? Didn't he promise her he would fight against their parents? He promised not to do anything to the ladies. What the hell did he do to Susie now? Susie walked into her classroom, curious to see if Helen was back. The young lady wasn't. Her seat was empty, which was an unusual occurrence since they had their final exams that day. Susie held her hands together, feeling her blood go cold. Helen went to Wilbert's home, didn't she? That lady. Why doesn't she ever listen to her? After school, she hastened her pace to the bus stop. Her whole body felt like she was placed at the edge of the cliff. Was she really going back to that house at that moment? She might not remember what happened that night, but her gut feeling cursed her for every movement she made towards the gate. Susie felt a negative energy as she stood before the mansion. She had to do it. She needed to face her demons. All of them. She took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. There was no response. When she rang it the second time, a lady's voice sounded from the other end. "Sorry, I am Susie. I came to ask a question," she explained politely. "Susie?" The lady's voice sounded astounded before there were key motions in the door. Suddenly, someone grabbed Susie by the arm and dragged her out of the doorway towards the side of the house. Her heart jolted into her mouth as she felt so much fear in her. What the hell was that? She looked up to see who had grabbed her like that. Alas, it was Wilbert staring into her eyes with his hands covering her mouth. Her eyes enlarged in shock since she never expected to see him. She instantly pushed him away from her, feeling both pissed and irritated. "How dare you touch me?" She fumed. "Shh." Wilbert gestured to her to be quiet. Some footsteps came closer to their direction, and he was scared of getting caught. "Why are you scared? Who is that?" she asked. "My mother," he explained. "She is... Look, you will not understand, okay? You shouldn't have come here. I have every right to come here because my best friend is missing. What have you done to her?" She questioned in desperation. "Does this have anything to do with that night? What happened that night?" "Look, I am as confused as you are," he explained. "I do not remember anything that happened that night either. You need to leave before anybody sees you." "You are a liar," she said in a hushed tone. "There is something going on that you aren't telling me, and unfortunately, my best friend got caught up in it. Susie, you do not know what you are saying. If that's the case, then why do I have to leave? What have I done to offend anyone? Where is my freaking friend? Where is Helen?" "I am sorry, but I don't know where Helen is. I haven't seen her." Susie felt his words get more and more hollow. For some reason, she couldn't believe one sentence from his lips. Her whole body wasn't conforming to what he was saying. "Trust me, Susie." She couldn't trust him. "You are evil, Wilbert. You are a monster. Why didn't I see through you?" Her whole being regretted the decisions she made earlier that week. Her heart swelled in agony, and she could tell her emotions were about to explode at that moment. "Look, Susie." He grabbed her arm. "Forget Helen. Helen is gone and never coming back. I do not know what my parents did to her, but you can still save your skin. You need to leave. I do not care what your parents are. If they are dangerous, I am more dangerous than them. If anything happens to Helen, I will never forgive you, Wilbert. I will make sure you pay for every single thing you have done to her." She threatened. "Susie, they are notorious ex-convicts. They lead one of the most dangerous mafia gang in town. You can't do anything against them. As their son, I have to change schools and stay low-key. I have to do whatever they want because they can harm me too," Wilbert explained with a soothing tone. "Every day I walk on needles just to save myself and my younger sister. Susie's jaw dropped in shock as her eyes welled in tears. Do you now understand why I said Helen is gone? There is no way they will spare her after all I have seen. Then, a striking slap landed on his cheek, ensuring 5 little fingers were imprinted on it. His face tilted to the right in horror. Susie, how dare you? He threatened in anger, pushing her to the wall. Susie scoffed. Of course that was his true colors. What was the point of all those charades earlier? Susie smiled at her own stupidity. Everything began to make sense to her now. She backed away from him, trying to control her tears. He intoxicated her that night and used her. The whole truth was as clear as day. Susie, I didn't use you that night. He tried defending himself, but she'd pushed him on the floor with all her strength, ensuring he brushed his arm on the rough pavement. Stay away from me. Hey! An elderly woman yelled from the entrance of the house. How dare you touch my son? Who the hell do you think you are? Without warning, she pulled out a weapon and pointed it towards Susie's head, fuming. Susie felt her soul slip away from her body, her legs cold and weak. It was then reality dawned on her. Oh boy, she was literally dealing with mafias. Hello, Susie. I believe you have something that belongs to me. What's going on? Why are they after me so much? I don't have anything that belongs to them. I need to see Gilbert. He is the only one who can help me now. Gilbert hasn't spoken about you for years. He still wishes you dead.
Less than soon, and you know keep miss you. Wordless is lock that door. So hard, cause one for